I want to preface this video by saying that Imagine Dragons is one of my favorite bands of the last 5 years. I wanted to put this out there because much of this is purely based on my opinion, as the rest of this series will be. With that out of the way, let's take a look at the complete discography of Imagine Dragons.
I can see clearly, I can see clearly, I can see clearly, I can see clearly,
I can see clearly, I can see
clearly what you mean.
Imagine Dragons, a Nevada-based indie rock act, began their days during the late 2000s. It's tough to pinpoint exactly what their first piece of work is, because when doing research for this video, I found an EP from 2008, a track without an official release date, and 2 singles performed live as early as 2010 without any official recordings existing. These, I guess, would be as good a place as any to start. The EP, Speak to Me, which was only discovered in recent years, is entirely different than anything by the band and seems almost like an entirely different project altogether. The sound on this is very reminiscent of something you would find playing on Broadway in a stage show as opposed to on an indie band's EP.
Colors of the world are rearranging. The center sentinels are cunningly estranging.
Then there's Destination, a track which was recorded but it is unknown when. This track in particular is actually one of my favorites. The synth and guitar here invoke a very bouncy and happy atmosphere despite the track's more sad lyrics. It also popped up in their iTunes Sessions EP, which was released much later as a live track. Next up are 2 unreleased tracks, Darkness and Clouds respectively, both of which have only ever been performed live without an official recording being made to this point. Darkness is a piano-driven ballad that showcases the softer side of the band that you really rarely see in their later work. Clouds, on the other hand, is classic indie rock, guitar-driven with great percussion. The lyrics here are strange, though they do work with the music, and the instrumental portion near the end sells it perfectly. Another one of my favorites from the band. The band would go on to release a self-titled EP which showcased a lot of good guitar work from Wayne, as well as a variety of styles while still staying grounded in an indie rock sound. Standouts include I Need a Minute and Curse. After their self-titled EP, the band released a second EP titled It's Time. Many of these songs would go on to appear on their full-length LP Night Visions, with the notable exception of Leave Me, a fast-paced guitar-driven breakup song with great energy and great percussion, which is some of the band's finer work to date. Next up is Hell and Silence, another EP which had material contributed to Night Visions. However, once again, with a notable exception, All Eyes, a synthesizer-driven track with a very fast lyrical style and a soaring chorus. band's final EP, Continued Silence, saw every song included on their full-length LP, Night Visions. After spending years perfecting their sound in live performances in Vegas and around the country in smaller venues, as well as on their earlier EPs, the band finally decided to record their debut album, which turned out to be more of a compilation of their earlier work than anything else. The only notable brand new song off the normal version of the album is the song Tiptoe, another great example of the band's use of synth. This song uses a fast, lyrical style and a soaring chorus much like some of their earlier work, with a more hip-hop style beat behind it. The real new material here is found on bonus tracks like Cha-Ching, Fallen, and Working Man, which are all good songs in their own rights, with Fallen being my favorite. After the release of Night Visions, the band commenced an intense tour schedule. However, during that time, they found time to record a couple of kick-ass singles. The first being Monster, a percussion-driven rock song with dark lyrics and a chorus which gets stuck in your head. The second being Warriors, the song that proves Imagine Dragons is capable of being a true rock act. Recorded for the popular video game League of Legends, Warriors has a powerful chorus with blasting drums, as well as a killer guitar solo to finish out the song. During this time, the band also recorded a couple of songs from movie soundtracks. The Hans Zimmer-produced Battle Cry, a loud, powerful rock song with slamming percussion throughout that could make anyone bang their head, and Who We Are for the second Hunger Games movie. Led by a marching band-style percussion, this song does rank as one of their better pieces of work.
Oh, quiet down, I've had enough. I guess it's now or never. I've been around, I've settled up. I'll go sooner or later.
The band's latest effort, Smoke and Mirrors, which dropped in February of this year, shows just how far they've come from their earlier days. They've become a much more experimental act, and this album shoots off in a million different directions, some of which proved to be poor decisions. For the first time in their career, the band had released an album or body of work which, in my opinion, had some very serious defects, namely the songs Polaroid and I Bet My Life. However, that does not mean there isn't anything to like. I'm So Sorry and Trouble were both kick-ass tracks that make me hopeful for the future. In conclusion, Imagine Dragons' diverse discography probably offers something for everyone. For me personally, I prefer their 3 early EPs and early live songs over their newer, more commercialized sound. However, that doesn't mean I don't enjoy their new material. Night Visions is one of my favorite albums of all time. From start to finish, there isn't a song on it I dislike. And even with the misstep that was Smoke and Mirrors, I still believe this band has great potential and a bright future ahead. Overall, their best album or EP would have to be Night Visions. Their top 5 songs are Clouds at number 5, number 4 is Trouble, number 3 is Radioactive, number 2, Leave Me, and number 1, the single Warriors. Next time on Discography Dissection, we take a look at Utah-based act The Used and their evolution from drug addicts living off soup kitchens to a successful rock act.